Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Good morning, I'm Jeff Kellam. Welcome to this week's edition of Encounter. Many years ago, in my radio days, I produced and hosted a syndicated rock music show called Celebration Rock. And one of my favorite programs from that era was based on the Don Henley song called The Sunset Grill. And in order to fill out the hour with songs about bars and restaurants and cafes, I found things like Carole King's Hard Rock Cafe and the Eagles' Sad Cafe, and then Billy Joel's Piano Man, Bruce Springsteen's Glory Days, and then there's also John Prine's Hello in there. You add them all up and you've got a portrait in sound of these places that are restaurants, cafes, bars, watering holes, where people go to mix with one another, to find refreshment, certainly in the food, and then also to tell their stories and to listen to stories, and sometimes to make up stories. Glory days again. This morning, I'm inviting you to a cafe. This is the Sugar Maple Cafe on Front Street in Owego. And we're meeting our welcoming proprietors, Aaron and Jenna Fairfield. Jenna takes your order from a very creative menu, and then Aaron, a graduate of the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, prepares the meal. Their cafe made it through the pandemic and even offered free meals to neighbors who were struggling through difficult times. I'm guessing that the two of you have people who come here maybe every morning for breakfast,
yes, we do.
And certainly for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
What's it like to be providing the fellowship of the table?
It's fulfilling.
Yeah.
And it's nice. Like, we have signs around that say, like, you know, when you're here, you're family.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are family. Like, and when they're not here, we feel the.
We worry
void.
about them.
We worry about
We've
them.
called people, like,
we've
are you
called them,
okay?
We've gone to their gone home to the houses where we know where they are, and like checked on them. You know, so it's like, you know, it's very fulfilling.
Everybody knows your name.
Yes.
And like the Cheers
kind of
bar.
like Cheers. Yeah.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right. Now, how long had you been running the restaurant before the pandemic struck?
About a year and a half.
Well, yeah, about a little more than a year and a half.
Yeah. And then what happened?
Well, we actually, not to lie to you, we had regulars in here, and the week before I actually had a champagne hash on, and we got out all the champagne that was in the refrigerator at closing time, and we drank it with the regulars and told everybody thank you for a good run. We don't know if we'd be here anymore.
We figured that was the end of it, so it was a little teary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually tearing up thinking about it, because it was a very scary time. We didn't think we were going to make it through it.
Yeah, we figured that was the end.
I went to your website and I found that this had been a dream of yours to own and operate a restaurant.
Yes.
And you had done that previously in Afton, right? You worked in Afton?
Worked, didn't own. Yeah, I just worked in a restaurant. I've been in restaurants now for 30 years, so, but yeah.
You had your own place, then about a year and a half later, now you pretty much have to, did you close down completely?
No, we were lucky to be blessed. We have a drive-through window on the side of the building, so we were able to stay open and do meals to go.
Right.
And
The last day that we were open that all the restaurants had to close as of 8 p.m. was a Monday, and at that time we were closed on Tuesdays. So we closed the next day as we normally would, and we just prepared for takeout meals. So we got all of our takeout boxes ready, all of our takeout utensils, and just hoped that people would come.
And then as it went on, we kind of changed the schedule, the hours a little bit, because we weren't really doing any breakfast.
Yeah.
And people started coming more for lunch, and then people were saying, hey, can I stop by and get dinner? So we ended up doing lunch and dinner through the pandemic. We were actually open until like 6
p.m.
Yeah.
6 p.m. We closed on Sundays. Sundays is traditionally one of our very busiest days.
Right.
And we ended up closing on Sundays because a lot of the patrons on Sundays are coming from church or coming here. So.
And you also opened up some space outside to eat eventually.
Yes.
Yeah, we had that actually before the pandemic. It was the year before I did that outside, but I didn't have the cover.
Right.
During the pandemic, I bought a carport and covered it so there'd be a little bit of shade and break from the heat slightly during the summer.
I'm interested in, when you were in 8th grade, Aaron, did you think I would like to be a chef when I grow up?
No, I was going to be either a paleontologist, marine biologist, or a doctor is what I thought were.
And what brought that turn?
To be brutally honest with you, when I was in like 9th or 10th grade, I had a guidance counselor who says I'm dyslexic and I have other learning problems. And he looked at me and goes, "You're not going to make it through one of those schools. You need to like stick with what you're doing because you do a good job at it."
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been at this since for 30 years. I started when I was like 13. At that time, I was actually running a restaurant in Afton, the River Club. I was the sous chef in the kitchen. I was working there.
Right.
So he's like, "Stick with that. Take that path, figure something out, and go that way." And I listened to him. I did, and I applied to one school. It was a culinary. I got accepted, and that's how it went, you know.
That was the beginning. Well, I can identify. I was, I think in 9th grade, I was thinking about being a dentist because my math and science scores were pretty good. And then they took a dive. And so I went into the ministry, not because my grades were bad, but I was feeling a call to the ministry at that point, but the other things kind of disappeared as the academic course changed. So I get that. Jenna, you have 5 children?
Yes.
So operating a restaurant at breakfast, do you open at what time?
We open at 7 a.m. The 2 little ones, he actually brings them in earlier. Carries one of them in sleeping, and we have a little room in the back, and they continue sleeping. The oldest 3 are teenagers, so they're at home, allegedly doing schoolwork during COVID. Now, who knows, sleeping until noon.
Yeah. So balancing out the restaurant with having a large family, that's challenging.
Yeah.
Very much so.
But I noticed one of the first times Joan and I came here, there was a sign on your door that said that you would be closed maybe on a Saturday because of a scout thing.
Yes.
So you balance out family and business by saying, well, sometimes family comes first.
Yeah, it was scary the first few times we did that, but then we actually got support from our regulars. They're actually happy with us doing that. They actually enjoy the fact that is, and they ask about, you know, me and like whoever, you know, Amelia, our daughter's in scouts with me right now. I started as a den leader with my teenagers, became scoutmaster, and when she went in scouting, I went back down to a den leader. But so we'll come in, people ask her about how camping went, and you know, things like that. So.
Well, and then the idea of having the kids as part of I've been here when they've been doing their homework or playing games, and they're very comfortable in this situation. The customers are comfortable with them.
They sometimes hop from table to table. They'll sit with people and color while people are eating, and ask if they can have their meal while they're sitting at a table eating with someone.
Yes.
So
we were kind of impressed with that family came first for that particular time. You're really considered an essential worker during a pandemic, providing food for people, and I noticed that, you know, for takeout only for a long time. But now things are opening up, so you're feeling a resurgence?
Definitely.
Yeah.
At first, I would say it was when things opened back up last summer. I think it was June, maybe. I can't remember, May or June. It was predominantly still takeout with a handful of people coming in, and then it started to shift, and it was like 60-40. You know, more people still getting takeout, but more people coming in, and it's graduated now to full-blown what it was
before. The end of that was people coming in arguing with us like, why aren't you just open?
Yeah, because we had fewer tables here. We took out half of our tables.
Right.
So, we had people come in looking around, you know, why aren't there more tables here? Well, it's 50% capacity.
Right. Yeah, and people should be used to it by now in a lot of ways. One of the things that also I learned is that, well, first of all, you have a very creative menu. You know, being a chef is, I don't mean to embarrass you, but you're an artist.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You know, really. And just come.
But I have to go home with him tonight.
Right. No, but first of all, your creative mind builds these menus and these dishes, and then you have to actually try it and make it. When we were here, even in spite of the fact that this is the Sugar Maple Cafe, it wasn't maple syrup, it was a rhubarb sauce or something on
Yes.
the French toast.
Yeah.
So,
One of the things with our regulars, a lot of the people in this area are farmers.
yeah,
And a lot of people actually will say, hey, I got fresh whatever that just came in. They'll bring it in. Quite often they won't take money, so we use it as being a trade aspect. They come in for lunch for whatever. But yeah, that rhubarb was locally grown, sourced, and we do a lot of very seasonal things. I try to mix that in. And I try to make the food kind of seasonal too, with what I'm making as well.
Sure. And that's, I was here for breakfast, but your dinner menu too. So you have a chef's guide to interesting dinners and small diners, or is this really just your head?
I just went with what I knew to be, that I do it the way I was taught, the way I know.
Right.
I try to make everything's made from scratch. Everything comes in whole and it comes out prepared. The sausage, the burger, everything's all ground in house.
Yeah.
So right even through the dinner menus, like you said, we did those during COVID. I want to make sure it's known that we don't do those all the time now. But we'll be going back to them in the fall probably. But all those dishes were made from scratch. The gravies and the sauces were all made from actual bones and meat and so it's that's where it comes from.
So you're not buying great big jars of chicken gravy, in other words.
The only thing I get in cans is tomatoes, honestly.
Right.
For soups and sauces.
He makes everything from scratch, all the potato salad, macaroni salad, all the soups, everything.
Why are you both so slim?
You're funny.
I don't have time to eat.
Right. Now, I also.
And you said we have 5 kids too.
Yeah, well, there's that. That's right. That'll
They
keep
cause
you on the
stress
run.
eating.
You met in Hyde Park. You were going to school.
Yes.
And
We're laughing because it's a very funny story. But
what did I want to hear it?
that's all I heard now.
Okay.
She was a tip.
No, I lived on my own. I had my own home. My mom went out to dinner one evening with her sister and a friend, and he was attending the culinary, and he was working as a server at a local restaurant. And my mom thought that I shouldn't be alone. I was an independent
She was getting ready to
woman.
move to Florida, so she wanted to take care of when she left, I guess.
So she thought he was good looking, so she asked if he was single, and he thought that she was hitting on him. But she left my name and phone number, and then she called me when she got home.
She asked me to call her, and I
Yes.
said I would.
Yes. So then she called me and said, just so you know, I gave your name and phone number to my server tonight. And I was like, what are you, crazy? What? And I had some male friends, and they said, don't worry, he's not going to call. Nobody would call. Somebody that the mother gave the name and phone number. But she made me promise that I would go out with him if he called, and he called, and I said, why did you call me? And he said, I promised your mother I would. So the fact that he promised my mother and then did call me, I was like, all right, I can go meet this guy.
That's pretty impressive.
We got married less than 5 weeks later.
Oh my gosh.
And we celebrated 20 years in October.
Now, sitting over on at another booth, who's that?
It's our daughter, Amelia.
Amelia. Have you heard that story before? About how they met? Oh, okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure there was nothing startlingly new. Okay. Okay. During the pandemic, I opened the program by talking about the sense of community that people have, especially in small cafes, where yes, you get to know your customers by name. You know pretty much what they want to eat. Often, you know a lot of things about their stories. And you also know sometimes the hardships they're going through. So in that, building that sense of community and out of a sense of compassion, you serve people free meals. You offered dinners. What was that like to come up with the idea and then to carry it through?
It was just kind of, we wanted to, people were there for us, opening up. We had a few regulars that literally the day we opened, they came in and well, we're not going to let you close. And they came in every day, day and day and day, and finally after a couple months, they're like, "Are you doing okay now?" We're like, "Yeah, sure." They didn't show up for about 4 weeks, but I mean, the community was there for us. We have a lot of regulars that come every day. We have so we wanted to give back because there might be some people that needed it, and I mean, the idea was just that was the idea. So I mean, and it started out small. We were just going to do free breakfast. I think it was once a week, or every couple days. Yeah, and then so many people the Cub Scouts, like you said, we're involved with them. They actually did a fundraiser to raise money to put into the food. So my buddy works at Willow Run Foods. They donated a bunch of food. So it's as people started adding on to what we were already doing, we went from like just doing breakfast 2 or 3 times a week to we did free breakfast or lunch every day, and then we got other stuff given to us. So we did breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
Yeah.
And then on like it was Fridays we did family meals. It was like because we do the mason jars of soup here. We sell like a half gallon of soup at a time. And so we were just like that was the family meal. Like we did like a jars of chili or jars of soup, and you came in, you can get that. We bought rolls, and we just so we kind of tried to make it a little bit more family friendly versus just individuals.
Yeah. And then you also mentioned in a previous conversation that sometimes you had fewer people coming than you expected.
Yes.
Because a sense of pride or
pride, and we also thought that like at that time, just people weren't working, so maybe just the cost of gas to get here could have been an issue.
Right. We had a lot of people too tell us there's probably people worse off than me, and so they felt like they shouldn't be coming and taking what might be needed more by someone else.
Yeah. Well, it's when you're already kind of on the line financially and in terms of the business to offer then free food and the fellowship that comes with it. It's a wonderfully compassionate thing, and good for you.
Thank you.
Good for you. When you run a restaurant, I was looking at the sign here that says it's a grace, it's a blessing. Bless the food before us, the family beside us, and the love between us. Amen. When you open on Sundays, you find church someplace else, a different time. Mm-hmm. Do you mind saying where you go to church? And
we go to the Methodist Church in Little Meadows, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
When we're able.
Yeah. We any of the night masses we go to. And then like a couple weeks ago we were closed for a wedding, and that Sunday we got up. Amelia and I went up to the church. And so I was like, when we're able to go, we go.
Yeah. By the way, I should say that on this week's edition of Encounter, we're talking with Aaron and Jenna Fairfield about the Sugar Maple Cafe, and we're sitting at tables here in the cafe and discussing pretty much how they made it through COVID and what the future looks like as they move ahead. When you first opened, now there had already been a diner here. I call it a diner, it's a cafe. There'd already been one here, and you had to kind of readjust the expectations, I guess, of longtime customers who had already come here. What was that like?
Actually, it wasn't that hard because the original restaurant that was here was blue collar, and from my understanding, he did a lot of the same things we do. Maybe not as high, like the what you were saying, like the creativity aspect of it, but he did a lot of fresh made stuff.
Right.
So people came in, they liked the fact that things were made fresh. Most of them just got off the menu, the omelets, the this, the basic, like the normal, more mainstream breakfast foods.
Right.
And then you had the few that were like brave enough to try the specials, and now that's all they eat when they come in.
Yeah.
Most of our regulars actually
They
eat off
don't
the
even
special,
look at
but
the
they don't even look at the menu.
menu.
They look at the specials and they go and tell you what they want.
Right.
So.
Right.
We have one thing that I hear here most frequently is I never liked XYZ, but I like it here. I don't eat this anywhere, but I eat it here.
Because
So.
people will try like the hash, just like Brussels sprouts is the biggest one. Everyone's like, I don't eat Brussels sprouts and mushrooms. I don't eat either of those. But there's like a hash that I make with it, and it's got both those in it. Yeah. And they always get it, and they're like, I don't know why. I don't eat this. I don't like it, but this is good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. When I first ordered the hash, first of all, the word hash, really, I think of the can that you open with the salty ham or beef or whatever it is, and the little tasteless potatoes, and that was my meal when Joan was teaching and I was in my first years of seminary. I would just open it up, throw an egg on it, and so when I came in and found was it lamb you put in it?
Yeah, or the special. Well, I changed it up. Like there's been lamb. I've done a few with like seafood in them. So I change up the protein on all of them every week. So
and it's chunks. It's not mashed up,
right?
Like I was used to. Jenna, when does Aaron ever fly ideas by you in terms of what if we tried this?
No. No, but sometimes he'll say I need a sandwich or I need a mac and cheese special, and I'll mention one that we haven't done in a while.
Right.
But
right.
just spewing back what he's already come up with in the past.
Yes. Yeah. And the Owego community. Let's talk a little bit about small towns. This is a a fairly small space on the edge of a small town. It's not downtown Owego, but what does the future look like?
That's a gray area. I mean, we've talked, like, with regulars have asked us to, and we've talked about it, and we've looked at possibly like moving to establish, become like an actual purchase of property and become like an actual staple versus like a rental area.
On the flip side, we sometimes think the old, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
so
like we
it's
don't want
going
to
well.
alienate people because we moved either.
Right.
So it's like, it's kind of like I say, it's a gray area. So, but the main thing is we have discussed is like staying here and just like, we had these dreams when we moved, we'd make these changes.
Yeah.
Now we're just thinking about making the changes here and just stay where we're at. And be,
Sure.
Because like I said, like we have a lot of regulars and like we have one guy, he comes in every day, but he lives half a mile from here.
Yep.
So if we move a half mile away, he might not come in anymore. Like we don't want to like alienate those people who made us who we are.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a franchise operation then. You keep this one and you move into another one and...
I can't divide myself, that's no problem.
That's right. I want to go back just momentarily about the renewal or reopening, that as things open up again, you've added more tables or put the tables back that were gone. And you've got people coming in, they don't have to wear masks anymore when they come in if they're fully vaccinated.
Correct.
And your kids are learning, or they may go back to school in the fall, I guess.
Hoping.
That's the plan.
Yeah, that'd be great for both of you, right? To go back to school?
Well, if it happens, one will be starting school finally.
Yes.
She missed a whole year because of this.
Oh man, I'm sorry. Tell me your name. Or not. Eleanor. Hi. We're Jeff and Joan. We eat here now and then.
I like how because we're disposed, we can't say anything. They go and get candy. That's what that.
They're eating gummy worms.
I'm glad I'm not interviewing them. A real quick conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, gummy bears and worms are not served as a part of the regular menu here. I want to hasten to add. So, going back to this idea of community and getting to know people. I mean, you do have a sense of stewardship over not just their meals, but in getting to know them and hearing part of their stories. Do people share their stories with you?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. I think we know quite a bit about people, actually.
Yeah.
It's almost like a bartender relationship. People come here and they open up, and I think some of the people come here a lot to talk. They love the food, don't get me wrong, but they also like chatting and talking and yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and a lot of people talk to each other too, so we'll have, somebody sitting over there and somebody sitting over there and they're talking to each other.
Or they'll even just get up and like move tables and sit together.
Right.
Like, so it's like,
Or if it's very busy, sometimes at the bar, I've said, so-and-so, this is so-and-so, and he just got back from where you're from, and talk. I'm going back.
You build community there, and again, I mentioned the fellowship of the table, and I think that's whenever people eat or drink together, barriers fall, and no matter our politics, we have in common our love of the food.
yeah.
And I think that's something that people in churches have Holy Communion, and they have their fellowship meals, and some folks who are not part of a religious community still find some sense of community outside those holy walls into holy places like this. I really think that wherever you are and there are people who are sharing their stories together. I have a good friend, his name was Dennis Benson. Dennis died about a month ago maybe, and Dennis had this gift of just going into a restaurant and he would just sit there and then he would just catch somebody's eye and he'd say, "It looks like you're having a rough day." And so whether it was somebody in the wait staff or a customer, he'd invite them to sit down. Of meeting that person, always in confidence.
Right.
But I think again that was his kind of ministry in post-retirement, to listen to people's stories and really listen. And many of us don't do that. We go on about and tell our stories, and then we take another sip of soup and leave. What have I not asked you that you would like to to make sure people know?
I can't think of what you haven't asked, but you made me think of a customer that we have that pretty much every single time he's here, he picks up someone's tab. It could be a single person sitting alone. It could be a family of 5. He picks a table and he says, get their check for me. And one day it went on, people were paying it forward, I think like 7 tables. So he paid for somebody, they paid for somebody else, they paid for somebody else, and it just went on and on and on. It was kind of cool to watch that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen in a lot of places.
Yeah, no, it was very cool. That I think one of the people, I think where it ended was somebody that came up to the counter to get to-go food, and they said, okay, thanks, and they ran out and they hadn't paid, and I still had like a pay it forward from somebody else.
That was the second time.
Yeah, so I said, I'll just pay.
It's happened twice where like it just went through the whole day.
Right.
So I paid her check, and then she came running back in. She's like, oh my gosh, I forgot to pay you. And I said, it's okay, somebody had paid it forward, and we took care of it. And she started crying, and she left again.
Oh boy. And when you go home at the end of the day, no matter how hard the day has been, it kind of rescues the day, kind of redeems the time. Yep. Well, thank you both for staying late after closing, and I'm so glad that we got a chance to talk. We've been talking with Jenna and Aaron Fairfield about their restaurant, the Sugar Maple Cafe on Front Street in Owego, and talking about how they've made it through the pandemic, and then how the reopening is creating a new sense of community in this neighborhood. And we've also talked a little bit about their offering of free meals to those who are struggling through this pandemic time. So these are stories of compassion and understanding and building community in our neighborhoods. Encounter is produced in cooperation with the Broome County Council of Churches and WBNG TV. I'm Jeff Kellam, the Parish Associate at the Union Presbyterian Church in Endicott, hoping that in the coming week you will be gentle with people and, of course, with yourself. We'll see you again next week on Encounter.